Miranda Darrow here, talking to you again about writing fiction. Just for fun, I'm tackling a different fiction genre or subgenre every month. This month, in the midst of the holidays, while many people are surrounded by family, this seems like the perfect time to talk about domestic suspense. What danger lurks in the suburbs? Ooh, domestic suspense novels delve into the shadowy corners of home life, peeling back the layers of seemingly ordinary relationships to reveal secrets, lies, and betrayals. Unlike traditional mysteries or thrillers, domestic suspense places its lens firmly on the dynamics of families, marriages, and close-knit communities. The tension comes from the unease within the familiar, intimate settings where the stakes feel personal and relatable. Let's explore what sets this genre apart from the larger category of mysteries and the related subgenre of thrillers, and look at common themes and tropes and how you can write your own chilling tale of domestic suspense. First, let's talk about what domestic suspense is. Domestic suspense lies at the crossroads of mystery, thriller, and drama. It's less about high-speed chases or solving crimes with forensic evidence and more about exploring the emotional and psychological turmoil in intimate relationships. Think of it as a blend of the slow burn of psychological thrillers and the twisty revelations of mysteries, but grounded in the realities of everyday life. While mysteries often revolve around solving a specific crime and thrillers heighten the stakes with fast-paced danger, domestic suspense thrives on a creeping sense of dread, often with the theme of whether we can ever really truly know the people in our lives. The villains are often someone close to the protagonist, and sometimes even are the protagonist themselves. Let's look for a minute at mysteries, thriller, and suspense labels. The driving force behind a mystery novel is a puzzle for the readers to figure out. Mystery genre needs to play fair with its readers and give them enough clues mixed in among the red herrings and misdirection so that the reader can, if they're paying attention, figure it out. The focus of thrillers is on the cat and mouse conflict between the protagonist and their main antagonist, back and forth with lots of action and danger. There's a fair amount of overlap between the subset of psychological thrillers and domestic suspense. Psychological thrillers primarily focus on internal conflicts and mental states, while domestic suspense centers around interpersonal conflicts within familiar and often familial settings. Suspense is built into the story's mood and has a building dread or anticipation of impending bad events, portents of doom for the main character. Suspense can have a slower pace than a thriller and still be unputdownable because, if well done, that slow pace is pushing the reader into a corner that gets more and more claustrophobic as the story continues. You can have elements of all three, mystery, thriller, and suspense, but you will need to market your story as primarily one. Almost every mystery that I work on has some suspense, with the exception of cozy mysteries and some police procedurals. But even procedurals can have a main character in danger or a looming threat of future doom that causes a sense of suspense. Let's turn now to some common themes in domestic suspense. The first is secrets and lies. At the heart of domestic suspense is the question, how well do you know the people that are closest to you? Uncovering secrets, whether it's a hidden past, infidelity, or financial deceit, propels the narrative. Another is trust and betrayal. Relationships built on shaky trust are fertile ground for domestic suspense. Betrayal cuts deep when they are coming from a spouse, sibling, or best friend. Another theme is appearance versus reality. Domestic suspense often explores the facade people maintain to present a perfect life. Behind closed doors, things are anything but perfect. And another theme is isolation, whether it's emotional isolation within a marriage or physical isolation in a small town or a remote setting. Characters often feel trapped with nowhere to turn. And another theme is moral ambiguity. Heroes in domestic suspense aren't always squeaky clean. They may lie, cheat, manipulate, or other terrible things to protect themselves or their loved one, making the readers question their loyalties and their morals. Now let's talk about domestic suspense and the settings. The large category of suspense novels can take place anywhere, but for domestic suspense, the settings are usually familiar places to readers, not some far-off galaxy. The settings are key to creating the claustrophobic yet intimate atmosphere that defines the genre. Some common settings include suburban neighborhoods, with a focus on the contrast between the manicured lawns and the neighborhood association parties that are all hiding some dark secrets. Small towns, in a tight-knit community where everyone knows or thinks that they should know everyone else's business, you'll find a lot of busybodies in domestic suspense. Remote homes. This is my favorite of the domestic suspense settings, an isolated home far from others, where a small group of people are gathered together and in effect are trapped together. This sense of physical isolation mirrors the emotional isolation of the main characters and their fellow housemates, or suspects. And urban apartments. The close quarters can amplify interpersonal tension. There was a spate of domestic suspense novels, all based on single women renting apartments that looked too good to be true because they were truly not that good a few years back. And there are still some solid novels focusing on the creepy neighbors in your building. And because all genres have tropes, here are 5 popular tropes in domestic suspense. First out, unreliable narrators. Protagonists who doubt their own memories or perceptions keep readers questioning what's real. It could be based on mental illness, it could be a substance abuse, it could be insomnia, it could be they have young baby or other reasons that they're just not sleeping or something, but there's a lot of unreliable narrators. A second is gaslighting. A character manipulates another into doubting their own sanity or experiences, creating a deeply unsettling dynamic. Another trope is the perfect couple or family. Behind the Instagram-worthy smiles, something sinister is lurking. And an outsider, a newcomer, comes to the small town and disrupts the balance of an established community or relationship. And finally, the missing person trope. The disappearance of a loved one uncovers hidden layers of the past. And here are some tips for writing domestic suspense. First, start out with an ordinary premise. The power of domestic suspense lies in its relatability. Begin with a seemingly mundane situation. A housewife suspects her husband of infidelity. A stay-at-home parent befriends a mysterious neighbor, or a family moves to a new town for a fresh start. Build tension gradually. Create a slow burn that keeps readers hooked. Every revelation should raise the stakes and deepen the protagonist's sense of unease. Develop complex characters. Domestic suspense thrives on layered characters. Give your protagonists flaws and internal conflicts. Likewise, make the antagonists multidimensional. They should feel like a real person with believable motivations. Use the setting as a character. Your setting should do more than just provide a backdrop. Let it amplify the story's tension. A darkened hallway, an empty park at dusk, a snowy suburban cul-de-sac, all can add suspense and atmosphere. And fifth, keep the stakes personal. The protagonist isn't off saving the world in domestic suspense. They're protecting their family, their marriage, or their own sanity. This makes the stakes feel immediate and relatable. Play with perspective. There are multiple points of view that can add depth and tension, especially if the readers know more than the protagonist, which is a type of irony. You don't have to have multiple POV, but a lot of them do. It's a fun feature to play around with and see if that enhances your story. And with a twist. Domestic suspense thrives on jaw-dropping endings. The best twists aren't random. They're earned with subtle clues sprinkled throughout the story. You can't just come out of nowhere. You have to build that surprise twist. It's got to have the basis in the story. Domestic suspense isn't about solving mysteries or thrilling action. It's about unraveling the emotional threads that tie people together. Writing in this genre allows you to explore the darkest corners of human relationships while keeping readers on the edges of their seats. So, if you're ready to write your own domestic suspense story, remember, the greatest tension often lies in the people closest to us. If you're interested in reading some of my favorite recent domestic suspense novels, tune in for next week's video, where I'll give a list of book recommendations in the genre. It's a great resource for authors searching for comp titles and a surefire way to add more titles to your to-be-read list, or TBR. And also, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell so you'll get noticed for next week's video, where I trot out my favorite domestic suspense books from the last few years. Until then, happy writing!